Welcome everybody. It's April 4th. It definitely isn't April 1st, so it's not Fool's Day. I'm not gonna fool you on this one, but at least we are live back on set. We're here in the studio, and this is a second time we have a guest from Australia. One in particular that I've known for quite a while now, but we actually never got in touch previously. It's been hectic. It's been wild. You know, making music, lots of artists, but this person is from EA. He's from AU. We got none other than hands up truly, Earlwood. All right, everyone, and we got Earlwood here. Sorry, I butchered your introduction on the picture. It showed up your Spotify image, and I'm actually gonna do this. I'm gonna move the Spotify because I got 1 second. I've got Spotify is a little too loud, and I hope we heard everything, but it was a good introduction nevertheless. How are you today?
I'm very good. How are you?
Excellent, excellent. It's crazy here because it's 10 o'clock at night over there, and definitely Earlwood needs to go to bed soon. So we're gonna try to make the best that we can in short time. And it's 8 o'clock here in the United States. So it's very generous of Earlwood giving us his time to come to the podcast and do a nice episode with us with Hands Up Now.
I'm very happy to be here, I can assure you.
Yes, and funny enough, yesterday we had a very good warm up. We got to know each other, just reconnect. First time in 2012 or something. That's like 11 years, and we had some good laughs and some good talks about behind the scenes, and yeah. So let's dive straight into it. I mean, it's been an interesting ride, I think, for most people when they first start out making music. They just don't know what's going to happen, and they're taking this risk. For somebody like yourself, how familiar did you have to be when you first started out as an artist? When it comes down to the whole marketing, your image, and all that, what was the most important thing to you as an artist when you first started out?
Um, I think I started out in a very unique place that a lot of artists probably don't start out in. I didn't actually have anything in place at all. I named myself Earlwood because it's where I live. It's my suburb, and
I was
it
about
just
to
so
say,
happened.
I saw a video on YouTube when I put your name, and there was like some guy giving some two dudes giving a tour of a house that looks just like the house you showed me yesterday, and I'm like, is that your house, or is that some house in Earlwood? So it's probably some house in Earlwood.
It is, and yeah, look, the music seemed to take on a life of its own, and I just sat back and watched. But times have definitely changed. So, I mean, you could definitely start out in a similar position, but you definitely would need to utilize things like social media and stuff like that. And as for branding, um, I think I also come from a unique background there as well, in the sense that it's not me personally that is well known, rather my work,
Exactly, your
the
content.
diverse.
I remember you by your content. Like I still remember your name only because of the forum that we were on back in the day, and that's how I remember like the author is actually Orwood. But the content that you put out there is somewhat. That's what sticks out more, like a sore thumb. And like I would send to my first music friend from Scotland. And when I first got into this in 2007, I sent him the one of your YouTube songs that I really like, had that disco beat, and we can't talk much about the actual content that was in the song. However, it was catchy, okay, and two, you took something that was like out of nowhere, and then you made it into this, and like yes, and it was funny. It's good, and it's like shows attitude. And like sometimes you want to feel in a good mood, you put that thing on, and like sometimes I will play this, like, and you know, and I love it. And this is what I remember you by. It's you still make some of these songs. They're just like It's for the content that you put out. Yep.
Basically, yes, and that song I think really struck a chord with a lot of people. I was actually inspired to make that after a nasty breakup, and I said, "This is for you. You inspired this. So whenever you hear this song, remember it was you."
It was me.
No, not you.
Oh, okay. Okay, the person. Yes, yes. Sorry. Uh, and well, is this true? Was Paradise your first single release? What's happening? Because when I look you up, I look at Paradise as the most common one on here, on Spotify. Or do you have other aliases?
Yeah, I do have other aliases. Paradise is not the first single. The
Mm-hmm.
first single was actually "Take Me Away." The
Yes.
second single was "Paradise." The other alias that we did, or I did, I'll say we, is Fauci. And
Yeah.
it
And that wasn't until 2021. So you're talking like Paradise, which came in 2022. Did you re-release Paradise? Because like, wasn't this like from back in the day?
Paradise was from back in the day, but the distributor that I
Uh huh.
had, I didn't really we didn't really see eye to eye in certain things, so we I transferred to a different distributor where I could consolidate all of my material.
I had some very similar story to it. Like there was something happening with my old previous distributor. I didn't like what they did, so I went to a new one. And believe it or not, the new one is like it's like snap of a finger. I get releases out, like no question, and it's ridiculous the amount of freedom I have on that one versus the other one. And we can talk about the monetary reasons too, about the benefits. But anyways, very interesting. And okay, well, let's start off from the beginning because we just don't know exactly when the beginning of Earlwood was. As far as I know, I started to get active on the forum on Eurodrenaline at 2012 because I felt safe. I felt that's the good timing. Before that, it was like, my goodness, people eat each other's souls up. Like people tear each other apart on this forum. It's like it's a slaughterhouse. Okay, whatever you post on there, you will get grilled on a barbecue, well done. And after that, they'll put you back in the barbecue to fry, and they'll put you in a fryer, and then they will like toss you out to the monkeys or something to eat you. So like, when exactly did you start out at Euro Adrenaline?
I That's exactly what your adrenaline is. It's like Mean Girls.
Mean Girls. For
Basically,
you, it was Mean Girls. For me, I was like, oh, I better not say something, that doesn't appease to them because I don't know. I saw it differently. It's funny the way you see it versus the way I see it.
yes, I was definitely a star on that thing. I joined in 2004.
2004. Wow, that's a good timing because that's exactly when I started out. As in, like, I got my first compilation, Clubland Volume 4, or was it 5? I think it's 5. And my goodness, every song on that compilation, there's 2 CDs. To this day, I still jam to them because they're that good. I feel like it hit its peak, like Hands Up. When did you say it was the Hands Up, the whole hard dance scene? They didn't call it Hands Up back in 2004. It was something. It was like dance floor or something. So,
I would say the peak, well, in Australia anyway, would have been, I would say, 2004. Because I remember
mm.
in 2003, you'd walk into a department store and you'd be hearing Lasgo and group coverage, Moonlight Shadow blasting on the radio. You'd hear it everywhere, you'd hear it. It was
That's
great.
very Australian because here in the US, we had the store. We had this big market store. It was in every state. It's in like every shopping mall. It's called FYE. I don't know if you ever heard of it, but it was an American brand, I must suppose. So inside you go there, it's a CD store, yeah? And in behind the CD store they have the DVDs and the adult section DVDs. So it's like, but for the most part, like they have music CDs, and you go and put the headphones on, and you test out each CD, and you scan the barcode, and that's how I found about hard dance from actually the U.S. So you had all your Axel Coons and your, you know, 2003, 2002 artists, 2001, and you get lucky, you get to hear some nice song, and that's how I found about this kind of hard dance genre, and I loved it. I had to get familiar with it one way or the other, and from then on, I knew my goal was to figure it out. And one silly thing next to another. I mean, for some reason we all had to start out from Euro Adrenaline because it was the place to to go to.
Euro Adrenaline was basically
The mosh pit.
the central. Yeah, it was the central hub of where everything started. I think I don't even think Cascada would have even existed if it wasn't for something like Euro Adrenaline. Because
Hmm.
without Euro Adrenaline, none of us would have discovered anything.
Yeah.
All of these acts, none of us would even known, um, let alone start off there. But yeah, Euro Adrenaline. Oh God, how I missed that place.
Well, so I think Cascada made her, debut, and then with Every Time We Touch, and then like they made a lot of songs with her, and then they last for good years, and then they changed her genre to make it more modern and such, which is fine for her. She just came to the U.S. like a month ago, by the way, uh, and so that's like the first in a long time, and I'm happy for her. And then she did like a collaboration with like Timothy Trumpet and stuff. But by the way, if you saw my questionnaire, top 5 artists of all time for your influence, think about it. You don't have to answer it now. We'll get back to that in later. Um, and yeah, so for Cascada, she like took off on her own, and but not everybody had the same success. It was only Cascada lived, and it wasn't like shared upon other artists. You didn't see like it wasn't like a tree and you bang on the tree and apples fall off with golden hits all the time. That's not how really Hands Up was. It was just like one tree and it had one apple and that's like after Cascada. I don't think we heard everything from anyone mainly to score big brownie points in the billboards or Grammy awards and stuff like that. So I think most people were going after that. I feel like between you and me, I kind of had a sense that you back in the day you were looking for getting something similar going on like a Cascada project and trying to make it out, and that's totally fine. It was very difficult, and for me finding a singer for some reason, why was it so rare? Nowadays, you just go on Fiverr and pay a few dollars, and here you go. But anyways, okay, so very interesting. 2004, and between 2004 and 2008, what was that like? Because I feel like that's when it had a ridiculous amount of traffic on there on the forum.
Well, that's when when I started getting into music production because to me it was all alien. I was like, how do they make it? And they
Uh
had
huh.
the producer section and all that, and there was just constantly new material being put out there. There was tips, there was mentoring, there was everything.
Really?
And
So
yeah,
like what I mean, what kind of mentor I because like quite frankly, anything you post on there, you'll get like I've had people tell me somebody told them they should kill themselves. Like I mean, like that's the kind of stuff I was getting at left and right. So like what kind of stuff? I mean, because there was no mentorship for me whatsoever. Like I knew that whatever I posted in there, I had this one guy from Slovenia when like he just like kept meaning to. I don't know if you know who I'm talking about. Like but like he was just like he had the Manian picture. Okay, it wasn't Manian, but obviously. And so
I remember
you
the
remember? I don't know if you
was it
remember the actual drama between me and
I
him.
remember the I remember it was a black and white picture. I just
Black and white
remember
picture
that,
of Manian,
yeah. Mm.
and yeah, his name starts with W. And he just really wanted to like get in my head. Like I mean, like I don't know. That's what he was he that bored? Like I mean, yeah, for somebody like who just like stands by there and just looks at content. And then I guess he made music too. I heard. But anyways, let's move on. So like okay, 2004, 2008, very active. You learned tips, and somehow you managed to put up. When was actually your first production, and when were you comfortable with making music? What year was that?
Um, well, I remember when I first started putting my stuff out, it would have been in 2010 on Eurodrenaline, where it was basically torn to pieces. Rightly so, now that I listen to the old stuff, I'm like, holy crap, what is that? But that awful, you should kill yourself, what is this garbage, blah, blah, blah. But I kind of would refer to that as mentorship in a
Oh
way.
God.
I suppose as a coping mechanism because it made me get better.
No,
um,
the only thing I was comfortable posting on your adrenaline was in 2008, and I had put up a single which was amongst some artists, and one of them ended up becoming a huge artist. He's now in the top 10 in EDM artists of all time. Um, and when I couldn't release it, I mean, it was, I learned my lesson because the whole licensing and rights and everything. And I initially had talks with the original artists about the vocals. They gave me the stems, and I'm like, oh wow, they gave me the stems, and they let me remix it, and then we can release it. Okay, that's exactly what I did because I didn't know how to make music. So I got the THT, I got Loria, I got them, I got this, I got that. Um, and my goodness, like even some artists like who are like doing the right thing, like marketing, like everyday hardcore marketing. One in particular, I don't want to name him because he got so butchered on not MySpace, that so butchered on Eurodrenaline. They're like, they were offended the fact that he was marketing, and to them that was spamming. So like once MySpace, I would see him everywhere. Like he would post his stuff everywhere on everybody's comments and stuff like that, and I was I thought that he was doing the right thing, but like them on Eurodrenaline, my goodness, talk about mentorship, like. You're going to hell for spamming people. So yeah, let's kind of move on. Okay, so 2010 you feel comfortable making music, that's great. Like and then I started using it in 2012, and I think by then like only the trolls remained, and then like the admins. By then 2012 I was like moderators, maybe madmen, one or two, but then you had like the trolls, and that's about like what remained until the end of it. How long did you stay on there? And when did you just like really like, you know what, hands up, I'm out of here, I give up,
Well, from memory, in 2012, that well 2011 was when we released Take Me Away, and in 2012 we did Paradise, and yes, that is true. Eurodrenaline was a snake pit at that stage, more so than usual. But it did thankfully have active members and good producers on there that wanted to lend their time. So there was Nova Scotia and some other people I can't remember right now. It's 10 o'clock. But I would say that I probably persisted on that forum maybe up until 2015 maybe, and then I don't know what happened.
Yeah. Well, the forum had a update, and the update was like kill switch or then restart, and then if you're a previous user, you just have to like sign up a new account now. Now that's counterintuitive to the whole thing, and then the whole new look was because everybody was like, "Oh, let's update the look, let's update the look, let's update the look." Oh yeah, they update the look, and my God, was it bad. And then they
didn't make it do anything. They destroyed.
Yeah,
it.
one artist,
246,000.
one artist. That was his idea. He was like, "Oh, I can make this better," and he was just promoting his music on the top notification when you sign in, and it's kind of like okay, and then yeah, I feel like the whole thing just went down, and I had some talks with some of the people there about like doing something about the whole users and stuff. But that's all on them. They sank their own ship aground, and but yeah, it had a short live, just like most things do, even the genre it did. And in Europe, I don't know what's going on. I mean, at one point it was kind of all over the map, and now it's like only Germany and maybe Poland still listen to this, and I have to get on these websites that are like Polish and stuff who still appreciate this, and they will still put the stuff content for free to download, so DJs can pick it up and play it and mix this. Maybe you get lucky and get featured on these YouTubes and stuff. But what would you say was your most favorite memory and the least favorite memory in Hands Up that you were in it? Because you were really from the get-go.
When you say favorite memory, what do you mean by that?
It could be a release. Could be, I met this person, changed my life for the good. Maybe I learned this from that person, or maybe I met Cascada, and all of a sudden, I was able to make. I don't know. Tell me what exactly would you say was your most proudest moment on the whole scene, being in it.
Maybe I don't know, meeting LaBouche, meeting the Venga Boys.
Oh wow. That's pretty good, because that's good. And did they come to Australia, or did you go to see them in Europe, or like what, or where are they based? I don't know.
Oh, they came to Australia in it was a few years ago. They came again recently, actually this year. We saw them again, but yeah, they came a few years ago the first time. I think it was in 2015 or something. I don't know. It was a long time ago, and yeah, they didn't let us into the concert because we didn't have tickets.
Ah,
So
look at that.
yeah, so I called the Banger Boys myself. I just sent them a video message. I said, "Hey, I'm outside with my mum, and we want to come and see you." And they won't let us in, and it's not fair because we have your album, and I have all your singles. So can like you do something? And the next thing you know, I get a message, and they're like, "Yeah, hey, just wait. We'll come. Manager will come get you." They did. We met them backstage. It was pretty fun. I wasn't
Nice.
expecting any of that. Kim was lovely. Um, when I met LaBouche, obviously Melanie is no longer with us, unfortunately. But there was Lane was there.
Mm-hmm.
That was nice.
Did
Um,
yeah. Well, that's a pretty good. And what would you say was the worst moment of the whole thing of like you making music or like your music career or in general? I mean, I know there was one thing you told me yesterday, but that was probably the worst one. Cause that top of any, I mean, that probably is the one, right? When you went to Hollywood.
I wouldn't say that that would be the worst one. I
Oh,
would say
I
that
mean,
that's basically what
definitely
happens.
disrespectful right there. Like, but like people online say things, right? I feel like people online, if they say certain bad things, that's probably like even that's as bad, or maybe worse. To me, I took it much worse or online because I'm like, oh whoa, they can get away saying these kind of things. Whoa, I don't know about that. That's how I felt. I don't know how you felt about certain things people said online.
Online, people said really nasty, evil things about me all the time. And yeah, back then it would really piss me off. I get so angry, I get so upset. But then after a
Oh
while, I was like,
boy.
really, I don't care. These people, where do they live? Like, on the other side of the planet. I live here. Fuck off.
Yeah.
Wait,
So
we should bleep that out, please.
yeah. So what happened was essentially in 2012 I made my first single. It was catchy, but super cheesy. And because it was my first single, it's not that I expected everybody to, oh yeah, it's gonna be glorious and it's gonna be handcrafted and it's gonna be like stellar songwriting skills. And no, absolutely not. It's something I made and I didn't know. I'm trying to figure how to get in this scene. Super late in the game. By then already people are giving up in Europe in making music and hands up. And so I make this thing and then we posted on the forum. We had Brian Griffin posted on the forum. I DM'd him about it because I'm not gonna get butchered on it. I wanted him to get all the evil comments. And Brian Griffin gives two rats about anything, so he will do it. He's like, of course I'll do it. Brian Griffin. I heard he got into a lot of trouble towards 2015 or 2014 when he started posting some stuff. Um, and then so Brian Giffen does that, and then you come somewhere down the road, and in no time you post this song, which is your version of the song, and I was like, at first I was like, huh, and then. The more I thought about it, I'm like, you know what? This is actually pretty damn funny. This is pretty cool. I like it, and the fact that somebody took my song and like made their own version into this, and like the lyrics are even more. At the time I was, very wild. I was living a certain lifestyle, and like I was like, you know what, this is kind of cool. I like it, and I, because there's various ways someone can interpret this. I mean, some people think like, oh, what are you doing? Oh, are you taking my song and going your own way? Like, certain people like really go off the radar and like they're like, I'm gonna start a war with you now. You're not taking my song. And because like some artists feel like I think I had one guy in hardstyle. He's like, oh, well, one of the big artists like they took my song and then they ran with it, or like somebody stole my song from Discord because I posted it on there and I'm like, well, that's on you, bro. I mean, cause you posted on these public chat forums and like, what do you expect? Like, but anyways, so I thought it was pretty interesting, and I thank you for that. Like, I never had a chance to thank you until 2023 of April 4th. And the funny thing is, I told one thing about Earlwood. I remember everything, and it's very almost like unless if I fall off on my head sometime, God forbid. But for the most part, I remember everything, and yeah, we had a good laugh about that yesterday. So now, as far as music goes, I noticed your your style has gotten very like disco, like the Labouche you mentioned, or like Venga Boys, and I have seen a lot of attention on like YouTube like years ago. And as far as to these days, what's your goals, down the road, and where would you see the project Earlwood, or maybe another alias that you're working on? What are you mainly looking for to as an artist?
Well, look, when I initially started doing music, I didn't think anything would ever happen, ever, like ever. And then the next thing I knew, my song would be on the radio. It would be on iTunes. It was everywhere, and I was just like, wow. And I remember in 2018, it charted Paradise charted at number 88 in Brazil, like I think on the iTunes chart or something. Anyway, it was I was like it was like a sleeper hit. So I was like, wow. And after that, I was like, well, I want millions of views on YouTube. I wonder if that'll ever happen. And then someone got my remix of La Bouche, Where Do You Go, the Earlwood remix, and they made a video to it.
Uh-huh.
And then one day I look at it, it's 10,000, then it's a few hours later it's 20, and then it's 50, then it's 100,000, and then it's like 500,000, it's a million, and I'm like, whoa.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, and that was actually what I wanted. And yeah, I continued to produce, and then the pandemic happened. And here in Australia, as you know, we went into this lockdown, like it was basically like the world ended. Essentially, that's how it felt.
Yeah,
And
I was thinking Australia was the worst. Oh my goodness. I
yeah,
don't know how you did that. And then you made the Fauci song. We'll get to that. Go ahead. But what? Okay, so you know what's funny is that I think you're the only person that I know in hands up who made a COVID related song, other than myself. I made one too. I'll send it to you. It doesn't matter what side you're on.
you
The
made
point.
one too, really.
Oh
Very
boy.
good.
I called it "God Is the Rave." I think. Let me go. I'm gonna double check that. Something like that. And then I made that, and I made my own rap to it. So I rapped to the song, or MC, shall we say? Because in hands up people, I mean, like maybe they rap to it, I guess. But anyways, so I MC to it, and I'm most proudest of that one in my MCing. And I also did the melody jingle. It was funny too, catchy, and it was a collaboration. I did this with another EA artist, John Talent. So we both
Wow.
made it happen. He did the radio edit, and then I did my own remix, and then I partnered up with Technobase.fm. Are you familiar, right? Technobase.
I remember Techno Bass.
So Technobase, close to 200,000, if not more, followers on Facebook. The biggest hands-up radio station in the world. They're in Germany. A lot of main hands-up DJs went on there, and now a lot of them are like on Twitch, and it kind of breaks my heart. No, not kind of. It breaks my heart because they're now going their own ways, and they're not on Technobase, and I don't want to see things like Technobase. Nothing happened to it, so they're still running compilations and so forth. So yeah. But at any rate, we had it featured on Technobase.
That is an accomplishment. Well
Actually,
done.
wait. No. I'm sorry. We didn't get featured on Technobase. That was no. That's not. We had it released. I'm sorry. We had it released. We featured some other stuff on Technobase, but not that one. That would have been too funny if people picked it up down the road. I know. I had this call with Earlwood yesterday. Anything want to do that song? You know what? I want to try to figure if I can do something with that big labels on that song in particular, because a lot of people are confused, and if you're not informed about what really happened during COVID and the supply chain problems, and the whole the whole fear mongering and everything, I feel like that's exactly the kind of tone my song put out. But it never got picked up by anything, because Hands Up is a kind of community where people are in their own silos, and you cannot unite them. And even if they're part of the whole big, Technobase brand, for example, they would like leave and go there on Twitch and be their own artist and stuff like that. But time to time, there is, cross selling, so they do partner up with each other. But for the most part, like, people just need to get this to the next level, the Technobase brand, and they should, because it really is the heart and soul I think Future Trance had their last compilation. I could be wrong. Did you ever listen to Future Trance?
Future Trance has their last compilation. This is news to me.
Okay, well I think they hit 100, volume 100, and then that was it. I don't know if Dream Dance still does stuff like with DJ Dean, but I could be wrong. I think
I have a Dream Dance compilation. There's a picture of a dolphin on it, I think, or something like that.
we had a guy on remember that guy on the Eurodrenaline? He looked like DJ Dean, and he was a biggest fan of DJ Dean. And now sometimes I'm just asking myself, could that be DJ Dean? I don't know. But it was on Eurodrenaline, so I don't. I'm sure. And sometimes I talk to some people, and they're like, aren't the artists themselves on the forum too, wondering what they say about them? And I'm like, there's one artist in particular that went big on hardstyle, and they were butchered. My goodness, on their hands up on Eurodrenaline, like big time. And like, I'm like, bro, okay. So, anyways, okay, well, so you mentioned about La Bouche, and we talked about those songs you made, and very impressive. So I highly encourage everybody listening to this podcast, go on YouTube, check out Earlwood, and join the Hands Up Now Discord server, because I'll be able to post his music on here. Some music I can't really say what their titles are. That's how cool and special it is. I'm not even willing to say the actual title of the song because,
it's very mysterious.
It's very mysterious really and it's very special. But
do your own research.
Do your own research. And I'm sometimes even wondering. I'm scratching my head if you even put Earlwood remix on this, the C one, the one that it's like 4-letter word or 5-letter word. if that's on the,
we just say that we see you next Tuesday.
Mm-hmm. And let's keep going here now. Are you comfortable entering the top 5 artist influences of all time for you, or do you want to pick it up on later?
I am comfortable to reveal that.
Okay.
So number one, I would have to say would be La Bouche, because that was my number one thing that I loved the most when I was a kid growing up. Number 2, I would have to say Jam and Spoon, but just one song, Right in the Night. That's the only one. Pescada, Scooter, and who else? There has to be one more. And Ultra Beat. I really liked them. I would say that they were quite influential in the music that I made. That's top of my head that I can think of.
Nice. We'll get back to that. I meant to play the gain of function. I'll play it right now for the audience here, just for a little bit of reference.
Ooh.
We'll just play a bit of it.
So I can get my gain of function.
Oh, look at that.
So I can get my Anthony Fauci funded.
I'm surprised this didn't get picked up at like the political rallies and stuff. We had tons of them here.
It actually got censored, unfortunately.
Oh.
It got censored immediately, and I saw it being heavily shared on Twitter and everywhere else, but the view count would never move.
When did you release this? 2021, you said? I think it was. Spotify says that. Yeah.
Yeah, it would have been around 2021 that I released it, and I didn't just release it based on personal opinion.
Yeah.
I thought to myself, what can I do? Because I didn't want to make music at that stage because we couldn't even leave our house. We were just recovering from the pandemic. I was like, this really sucks.
Right.
I consulted with scientists who are actually very well known, but obviously don't want to reveal anything about themselves. But then told me the wording to use, the scientific words to use, like hearing cleavage sites and these things that I'm not even familiar with, which they are because they work in labs or whatever. I wanted to make a song that basically explained, in my opinion, based on what I can see, what actually happened in a way that everyone can understand. it may come across as political, but I wanted
No,
to
let it be.
make
Let
this.
it be. I'm all for political hands up. And then I made mine actually very political too. In fact, I fact checked it myself before releasing
You
it.
fact checked it.
I
Good.
fact checked it. I'm like, you know what? I'm gonna fact check everything. And the funny thing is the way that, because once you're rapping or emceeing, it's just like, it's not like rocket science. You put two and two together, and when you put the beat and stuff, you can fix it up, and that's the art of it. That's what makes an artist artist. It's just like when you creatively can make something like that, and uh,
Exactly.
but that's terrible. I'm sorry you went through that in Australia. I was reading about it. It was very depressing. I think the most depressing was in Australia. I feel like you're boxed in because it's not like, it's a big island, Australia, big continent, but it's not like all that western part is like usable. You can't just go there. It's a desert. There's Komodo dragons and stuff like that, and but you can't just go there. No, it's not habitable. So it's just like Sydney and like some other place, and that's about it, right? So
Yeah, Australia is pretty good. Like we do have a lot of wide open spaces. Put it that way.
maybe unless you're really like, you know what, I'm gonna be a, let's cliche this, crocodile Dundee. I'm gonna camp out and I'm gonna wait until this thing is out. The COVID thing is over, and then. But I feel like a lot of people, they were just so pressured, and it's very unfortunate what how the whole government acted on this, and they should not have done that. And
Well, you know what? This is like the first time when I heard that song by Real McCoy, "Runaway." I'm like, this feels like what we should be doing right now. As soon as the lockdowns were happening, yeah, song "Runaway" if you save your life or whatever it goes.
yeah,
Yeah, I was like, wow, I never thought that this would actually be a prophetic song. I thought it was just going to be a disposable Eurodance pop song from the 90s. I didn't think it actually had a message. Holy wow, it did.
yeah, yeah. And let's keep the train moving here. Now, as far as your DJing goes in Australia, did you do any of that or?
I didn't do any DJ gigs in Australia, no.
Okay.
The opportunities were presented, but I never actually took them because I was more heavily focused on the production side. So people would ask me, "Oh, why don't you
Yeah.
DJ?" And I said, "Well, think of me making what a DJ plays. That's what I'm doing."
Mm. And so that's one thing that's very important that you just brought up, because I had one big artist tell me that, and it's like, don't put your stuff online unless it's good, and you feel comfortable with it. Don't just put everything online. I ended up doing the mistake of doing that when I was super noob, and
Mm.
I learned the hard way. But then again, um, I feel like the whole thing is boiling down to a business plan and like getting subscribers and all that. And some people really do well, and so you've done it very well on the getting views and streamings, and reaching your million and million up, and that's very good. Let's see. And like kind of yesterday we did talk about this, just like the whole hands up, because this is hands up now, and you're one of the boys. Talk about like one of the, I mean, just we don't have to go too much in detail about why hands up really like fell off the map. I mean, I have my views on it. I feel like it just fell off because people didn't get along with each other for the most part, and they separated their ways, and then they gave up because they believed that the house music and the other hardstyle stuff, that's where if you belong with them, then you're good. If you don't, then you're just a loser. Or how do you feel about this? And how do you feel about like the hands up scene in general? Why did it not reach its top momentum?
Well, the hands up music scene is an evolution of the 1990s Eurodance scene. It evolved and became hands up. And based on what I've seen, we saw the golden era of hands up uh, being, the early 2000s up until the 2010s was essentially the golden era, as we'd call it. And I think that um, from the information that I can recall, that the media distribution companies had changed, or the person that was picking the music had changed. So therefore, the music that would be being playlisted or whatever or pitched, uh, the hands up wouldn't make it because that whoever was picking that music had a bias that they didn't like it. Now, if the product isn't being put in front of you, unfortunately, no matter how good it is, if it's not being put in front of you, it will begin to fade away. But hands up itself has not faded away. We're here talking about it. It's still a very popular thing of
Yeah.
music, but it's not being marketed correctly because they're not focusing on that. And yeah, and that's that.
You know, I had one guy tell me, I don't know who it was, but like, oh, if Hands Up was mainstream, then there'll be more car crashes. And then I did that when I first played hardstyle in 2011. I got into a car crash right away, like no question.
Look, that is kind of true because here
No.
in Sydney, I remember in the early noughties, we had a radio station called Wild FM, and it was like it was like the hands up thing, and everyone would like blast it in their cars, and they would fly past like when they were driving, and yeah,
You know the kind of
especially late at night.
you know the kind of correlation I made is like hip hop, rap, and let's see, maybe house music. Common trait: drugs. Hands up. How many people in Hands Up do drugs? Like, and so a lot of people thought that maybe Hands Up does drugs, but like that's not the case. Like when I talk to people who don't know anything about it, or like they don't even listen to music, like the EDM music period, they think everything is based on drugs, which is not the case. The whole Hands Up scene was never about it, and that's wrong. And then Hands Up just never had that theme. And I talked to Time Waster. I don't know if you remember him from the.
I remember him.
Yeah, he's on here. We still talk. He has like a weekly YouTube a mix he streams. And he said, "Oh yeah, we should get into it." No, I'm just kidding. And so I thought it was kind of funny he said that. But just in general, like it's so stupid. Like you don't have to associate yourself with that. And it's all about partnerships. It's all about this. I have a big project I've got on. I got pulled off something very funny. I'm about to send it to this A&R for a very big artist. In a very big label. He's a director at. And let's hope something comes out of it. And the funny thing is, after that, we're gonna be doing some bigger things. And but anyways, that's down the road. This is the Earlwood podcast, episode 6 on Hands Up Now. We're close to reaching our hour. I know it's he's very generous of his time. People can find you on Instagram, correct? Like, where can people find you? Because now you're on Discord. I was able to somehow, with my magic spell, spawn you on Discord. Now, where can people find you these days?
You can find me on SoundCloud. The way that I would find me is just type in Earlwood Remix on YouTube and you'll find something. So there's SoundCloud, which I believe is Earlwood underscore music. And then on YouTube, I have the Earlwood YouTube channel as well. And then we've got Spotify, iTunes, and all of that.
That's amazing. That's amazing. Well, look, folks, there you have it. That is Earlwood. We do cross fingers that we're going to see more of him in the coming up months. We have a lot of Hands Up projects here at Hands Up Now. It's hands-up-now.com. That is our URL. Check us out. Go subscribe. And also check out Earlwood's social media on SoundCloud and Instagram. Follow him. It's Earlwood_official. I think that's the correct one for Instagram, correct?
Yes.
Excellent, excellent. He makes he makes really good music. I really mean it. There are certain music that I kind of think like, oh my god, I can't believe this never got out that big, and that would have definitely broke the ice. I mean, in my opinion, me listening to music for a long time, for 15 plus years, definitely icebreaker artist. Check him out. And if you're a vocalist, you're a singer, also contact him. You know, he is good working with singers and stuff. Yes, big double thumbs up. Yes, very proud about this. He's one of the boys. kudos to Earlwood in Australia for doing this podcast. And until next time, peace.
Thank you for having me.